thought it was a good discussion. Helpful. Is the
Okay.
so is Dorne the desert then? I just assumed it was like some sort of tropical area.
I believe it's desert. Well, at least I get that feel. I guess I don't know much about it I haven't got that far into that area in the books.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's definitely a desert, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I just get that feel from that place. So that's why I said that.
They're like the Gerudo from Zelda. Is that the name for those people?
Yes.
And strangely enough, Oberyn sort of looks like Ganondorf. So
Ganondorf. All right.
He's going to turn into a giant beast, and all of a sudden Link's going to show up in the whole series.
All the Lannisters.
That's the season ender right there. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cast Beyond the Wall. This week we're presented by our new partner. We got this covered. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and today I'm joined all the way from Oklahoma City.
Daniel Stull.
And also in the desert,
Austin Lucari.
And we're here to review the episode, The Lion and the Rose. All right, gentlemen, before we get into the episode discussion, let's go ahead and talk our question of the week, just for fun, for kicks and giggles, fun stuff. If we could live anywhere in Westeros, where would you pick? Austin, we're going to start with you.
Where would I pick? If I could live anywhere in Westeros, it's got to be some secluded island somewhere, because everyone in the whole place is crazy, and I feel like that'd be the only place I'd be safe.
You can always go live in the swamps with Jojen Reed and his family, because no one's ever heard of them other than the fact that they're with Bran. Like, no one knows who the Reeds are.
Who's going to bug those people? I never heard of them in my life. Either that or down in Dorne, where apparently everyone just likes to have fun. So
all sorts of fun.
Daniel, how about yourself?
I would want to say I'd like to live in King's Landing, but I know I'd probably just die. So I'm not going to go there.
You are Ned Stark, remember? You're like...
I know, right? Well, most quizzes that I take, actually say I'm Jon Snow, so I got that going for me.
Okay, there you go. Well, there's hope for you yet.
But I'm actually going to stick along those lines, actually, and I would say I'd like to actually live somewhere in the north. I tend to like winter, actually, so that sort of thing. And I like snow and that sort of thing, so I'm not either. It's kind of weird. Are you a bastard born from royalty? No, I'm not. But I will say I would either take the snow or actually I would probably go live in the desert. Like I'd want one of the extremes. I wouldn't really like any of the middles.
That's a solid pick. You go, you're fire, ice, you're hot, you're cold.
'Cause you're hot and you're cold, you're yes and you're no, you're in and you're out, you're up and you're down.
I'm going to roll with the Riverlands because that's where we can see River Run, which is a pretty cool city. I don't know how much I'd actually like the Tullys, but... they've got that really sick palace right on the river. I kind of dig that. I don't know about you guys.
Riverlands are kind of all a little scorched at the moment, actually.
There is charcoal involved, but it's okay because the Blackfish is on their side. That's all I got to say. Are you really gonna mess? Are you gonna mess with the Blackfish?
All right, we haven't seen him yet this year. I'm anxious to see his reaction to what happened.
Pardon, my lord, my lady. I need to find a tree to piss on.
As we all know, there's a lot of great fan content out there for Game of Thrones, and we all like looking at fan content. And to start off, and this is kind of Austin's pet project here, but to kind of start off, I want to hand the mic over to Austin so he can tell us a little bit. There is a really cool Minecraft fan project in the works. Austin, could you go ahead and tell us a little about that?
Yeah, sure. If you've ever thought to yourself, I love the show. It would be really fun to be able to just kind of like walk around these places and be able to see them. Well, if you have Minecraft, that is totally possible. There's a server out there who is, they're called Westeros Craft. They're trying to basically recreate all of Westeros to scale. The spaces in between the cities are a little bit scaled down, but the cities themselves are to full scale. They have everything from Dragonstone with like the intricate, like huge carved dragons. They have the Red Keep down to like the little cities that are never even in the show that they've just used like artwork and different things from. So if you do have Minecraft, you can go to the IP address is mc.westeroscraft.com. Go check them out. There's always about 15 to 20 people online working really hard, building everything. They're working on Lannisport right now, and just kind of enjoy the work that they've done. It's really, really neat to be able to walk around and kind of see from like a street perspective everything that you've seen on the show. So check that out.
That's really awesome. That's really exciting, actually. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
That's exciting. Austin showed it to me, and I was like, this is kind of cool. I think people should really be checking this out. I am not a big Minecraft player, but I was really blown away when Austin showed me. I mean, these people have insane amounts of detail. Like, it's just ridiculous.
For a game that only uses blocks, it's pretty impressive.
I don't play Minecraft, but I've got to go on and play that. Fans out there, if you guys find any really cool fan content that you think we might want to share on the show, go ahead and send it to us on Facebook or Twitter, and we'll see about getting that up. All right, gentlemen. Well, that's exciting. We've got a lot of exciting things to talk about today. This was the week of the infamous triple wedding.
Busy week on the show.
Very busy
week.
For a show that only had four storylines this week. This was probably one of the busiest weeks we've had of the show so far.
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely.
Been waiting for this episode for a long time.
Oh, as soon as they announced the titles, I was like, this is going to be it. The Lion and the Rose. This is the week Joffrey bites it.
Yeah, as soon as I read it and then I looked up the titles, I was like, yep, that's how fast it's going to be.
It's going to be. I knew it had to be early on. Based on where it happens in the books, it has to happen really early in the season. I was thinking at the latest it may episode 4, but episode 2, I'm cool. And we should probably go ahead and specify this episode was written by the man himself, George R.R. Martin, who is apparently a master wedding planner, as we've all seen. This guy is a legend.
He loves his weddings.
He does. I just feel like at some point in his childhood, he had a very, very dark experience with a wedding somewhere.
Somebody forced him to be a ring bearer, and he didn't want to do it.
Yeah, he had to have something happen. I mean, all these weddings, just bad things happen. Like, I don't know, something must have happened to him.
Stull, I'm not gonna lie. If I'm at your wedding and I hear the Reigns of Castamere playing, I'm darting out of there like instantly. I'm like, oh.
If you hear the Reigns of Castamere, it's already too late. Just saying.
That's a good point. Let's go ahead and begin our discussion of The Lion and the Rose.
A toast to the proud Lannister children, the cripple, the dwarf, and the mother of madness.
Have you ever known your father to make an idle threat?
I know where we have to go.
There's only one hell, the one we live in now.
We have a new queen.
I said, kneel!
All right, guys, this was a great week. But before we get to the just desserts here, let's go ahead and start on the episode opens with people running through the woods, and we're like, ooh, who are these people? Oh, it looks like they're having a lot of fun, right? Cheers and laughter. Cool stuff, right? And then, guess what happens? It's Ramsay with his dogs chasing a random girl down, trying to kill her for fun.
But I don't think it's just a random girl, either. I'm pretty sure the one with the bow was definitely one of the girls that aided Theon in becoming a eunuch. And I'm pretty sure the blonde was the other one. So it seems like there was a bit of a falling out between the Three Musketeers.
Yes, I would actually I don't know, to say something about that. It seems like, I mean, we don't have a lot of information, but it seems like the entire thing is occurring because the one girl got jealous of the other girl.
They're really giving us some Ramsay stuff here. They're building up a lot more so than in the books. He doesn't really have a role to play until book 4 or 5. He shows up early on, but you don't know it's him. Now this guy, though, they're giving this guy, fleshing this guy out, and honestly, I think he seriously makes Joffrey look like something out of a Disney movie.
Oh, I just can't wait to be king.
We're not there yet. He's evil, for sure. But more evil than Joffrey? I don't know. Joffrey shot a girl to death with a crossbow in his bedroom.
Yes, that was a sick and twisted fantasy, absolutely. But he has dogs trained to hunt down a girl, and he runs through the woods hunting her down.
Nothing I haven't seen in Hostel.
For fun. I think that tops the Joffrey shooting the arrows at the girl. Not to mention that we saw him have a Torture-palooza with Theon last season. It's just nuts.
I do think that I would make the argument that Ramsay is more evil than Joffrey, but not necessarily. It's because of the way that they are evil. Ramsay is very thought processed and
yeah,
there's motivation behind it. Where Joffrey is just mean to people for the sake of being mean to people, and it's just like a little boy, doing whatever. But Ramsay, though, it's a very, very thought out process, and it's just cruel and evil.
Very.
It's
I
like
think-
Joffrey.
that's-
It's like Joffrey just kind of does it because, and he doesn't know why he does the thing he does. He just feels like it. Whereas Ramsay knows full well what he's doing.
Which is
I would agree
far
with
more,
that.
in my
Sounds-
opinion, which in my opinion is far more evil than not knowing, because at least you don't.
Oh
you're
yeah,
not
yeah.
aware.
I would agree.
And not to mention, the thing about Joffrey is he's just kind of like a bully on steroids with too much power. Like no one can tell him no. So he's like, I think being cruel will be fun, and no one can say no. So they feed it. But see, Ramsay he's like, it's the difference between a bully in high school that has too much power and a straight up sociopath. Like, I mean, they're both pretty evil for different reasons.
I think a better comparison for Ramsay, and this will bring us kind of into the next scene there in Dreadfort, is actually Theon. I think Theon is a better comparison when you're looking at motivations in particular. Theon did some pretty horrible things, specifically because he was already scorned by his dad and was trying to impress him in some way. And I think Ramsay's motivations are along the same lines. You kind of see a little bit between Roose and Ramsay how he says, you're not a Bolton, you're a Snow. I think Ramsay really, really is trying to impress his father the same way that Theon did, which makes it really interesting that they're together, I guess. Now, Ramsay, I do believe, is significantly more sadistic and evil, but I think the motivations are pretty similar.
I don't think Theon, and I think if you go back and watch the season 2 episode where Theon, after he raises the burning boys above the castle, he does not like what he's doing. Even if he thinks it's necessary, you can tell. Like
No,
I remember when when he raises, like he's like, oh, and here they are, and he's like, no big deal. And he turns and sees them, and he just sees the look on his face totally change. He's like, oh crap, what did
and I think
do?
that's the
And versus Ramsay, who clearly is enjoying. He's totally enjoying his dark, sadistic pleasures, and I don't care if he's trying to impress his dad or not. How is killing a random off in the woods with your dogs and your bow? That's not pleasing dad. That's fun.
I do think their motivations for doing some of the same things are the same, specifically when it pertains to how he was treating Theon, right? He's doing all these things, Theon flaying him, as they called it, and all these sorts of things, specifically to try to impress his father and make himself more legitimate despite being a bastard. And which Theon was trying to do, make himself more legitimate by burning Winterfell, killing children, all these things, despite his father kind of scorning him because basically he had allowed himself to be captured, which is a really stupid reason.
Moving on with the Bolton storyline, though, it looks like we're about to move into a whole subplot here with the Boltons trying to take back the North.
Obviously, we didn't have a lot of the Boltons in season 1, 2, and 3, and it looks like they're going to have a bigger role, which I'm excited about. And obviously, at first, I really didn't like Roose Bolton because obviously of the whole Robb Stark thing. But in this episode, I'm not going to say that I liked him, but I felt like I had a sort of respect for him, like we talk about having for Tywin.
Right.
The way that he's talking to Ramsay when he sees what Ramsay has done to Theon, saying, I didn't get this guy just for you to have fun. I have him so I could use him as a hostage for political leverage and things like that. And then, just the way he talks and stuff, he seems he seems pretty intelligent guy, and I gained some level of respect for him in that sense. Obviously, we don't know a lot yet, but I didn't fully hate him in the scene either. I guess I saw his perspective on things a little bit in this episode.
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring up Theon being used as kind of something to barter with the Greyjoys, because he does actually hint just very little bit that they're having problems with the Greyjoys. He says something to the effect of, I had to sneak into my own home because of the Greyjoys. So it sounds like the Greyjoys are putting pressure on Dreadfort, or at least the lands and stuff. So.
Well, and that's the thing the show hasn't done an excellent job at really showcasing it, is that the Greyjoys really are holding the North. They've raided all the shores and the villages and stuff like that. And why they obviously haven't taken over, they are definitely a pending threat to the Boltons and the North. Something like there's still that uprising there that we haven't been able to see a whole lot of. Based on what Roose said, it didn't sound like he's got a whole lot more. He doesn't have a whole lot of value anymore because he's lost his manhood and because he's been psychologically broken.
What did you do to him?
I trained him. He was a slow learner, but he learned.
You flayed him.
Peeled a few bits, removed a few others.
This was Balon Greyjoy's son and heir.
We've been flaying our enemies for 1,000 years. The flayed man is on our banners.
My banners, not yours. You're not a Bolton, you're a Snow. Tywin Lannister has given me the North.
but he won't lift a finger to help me take it. As long as the Ironborn hold Moat Cailin, our armies are trapped south at the neck. Theon was a valuable hostage, not your plaything. I wanted to trade him for Moat Cailin.
Useless to Balin, essentially. He can't produce an heir.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a big problem.
Yeah, but what I actually really liked about this scene is it really shows us how broken Theon really is. I mean, obviously we knew that he was broken from everything that happened, but when he has a blade to the throat of the person that's done everything to him, he does nothing about it. And I was really I wasn't shocked. It didn't even look like it crossed his mind that much. I mean, it looked like he was sad about the whole Robb thing, but
I don't know. It looked like he was thinking about it because he hesitated a little bit.
They definitely tried to build up the tension there. He hesitated. He stopped. You could see it get a little bit tighter on the guy's throat, just a little bit.
It's like he was thinking, should I cut his throat or what? Well, oh no, what if I cut his throat? Something bad will happen to me. I'll get tortured more or something like that.
It almost was like
continues
it
on.
almost wasn't like it was a should I kill him? It was more like a flinch. Like the news of it just made him like. I don't tremble is not the right word, but you know what I mean, like tense up.
Yeah,
right.
I felt like it was more of a, oh my gosh, I just found out that Robb's dead,
Exactly.
not a, oh my gosh, I want to kill this guy moment.
I agree.
I guess I didn't realize. I just assumed going into the scene that he knew Robb was dead. But that's a good point. We hadn't. There's no. I mean, we don't know if he'd heard yet or not. So this very well could have been a first knowledge for him.
I didn't catch that the first time, but when I watched it the second time, it seems like it's the first time that he's heard this news.
Yeah, that's the assumption I made. I mean, we don't know for sure, but it definitely sounds like they say something, and Theon like stops, and Ramsay's like, "That's right, my father killed Robb Stark." And
right.
so-
They're definitely channeling some 1984 Big Brother mentality here. Like this guy has been beaten to a pulp so much that he's almost been programmed and conditioned to not question Ramsay at all. You know what I mean? Like I really did get that vibe from 1984 with this guy. He's so broken that his independent thought process is gone.
Why keep him around?
I don't know, Austin. We'll have to watch to find out. He might have
Obviously, he had information regarding the Stark kids, which is brought up. Now, Roose Bolton knows that Bran and Rickon are still alive, which he then sends some men up to go after.
No. He doesn't send men. He sends Locke, the evil, crazy psychopath, evil, crazy psychopath who cut off Jaime's hand last season.
I did find the interaction kind of humorous when he and Snow sort of have that conversation.
I hear you took a hand from the Kingslayer. Word travels. How he screamed. You would have loved it.
Madness is like epidemic in the Bolton camp.
Right,
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah, you can tell that these are two very sadistic people who understand each other.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take
So apparently he's just going to go kill everyone at the wall now, and then who's going to fight the White Walkers? Only the Boltons.
That's the point. See, the Starks are gone. The wall is all that remains between the White Walkers and the rest of the Seven Kingdoms. Now, the trick is, now that the Starks are gone, the Boltons are taking over. The Boltons don't really give a care. They don't really buy into the whole White Walkers thing. So, bit by bit, Westeros is losing its defense. It is losing all those things that are keeping the White Walkers from. If there's no North, if the North is in a civil war or not united, then they're going to be too busy fighting amongst each other when the White Walkers come. And here's what
All that's going to be left is
the wildlings. The wildlings are the one who are heading to the wall now. So what if the wildlings take out? What if the wildlings take out the Night's Watch? Then there's the wildlings and the White Walkers the North has to put up.
And then the Thins can eat Roose Bolton. It'll be great. And Bruce Bolton's fat wife. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she was very large.
Stop it! Cut it out! I have a glandular problem.
That'll be $60.
If we're moving on beyond the wall, though, we did touch on Bran a little bit this week, and a very interesting scene that I'm really excited to talk about here.
Oh yeah.
So there are two things to walk away from this scene with Bran. The first is we get a little bit more on the rules of the skin changers, right? So how does Bran? Not only can he see things in dreams, but he can also take over the wolf, which I believe is something Jojen cannot do. Now he takes over the wolf. We got some more of the rules on exactly how that works. So if Bran dies while he's in the wolf body, he will retain his self for only a set amount of time, and after that point, he just forgets and turns into a wolf.
Yeah, that was really interesting to kind of see all those conversations where they're saying that he would forget being human and he would become a wolf, and obviously for Bran that's like Jojen points out, that's very, very enticing. Just he has no legs, he can't walk around, so to be able to get into the body of a wolf and to be able to hunt things and jump around and move faster than you ever could before, I can see why Bran would like to be a wolf every now. You know what I mean? Would like to be in the wolf's body every now and then.
Well, the other thing to walk away with in that scene was obviously the big dream sequence when he touched the tree or the vision.
We got to see Ned
and touch the weirwood. Yeah, Ned Stark. Sean Bean is Ned Stark making a brief appearance.
The ghost of Ned Stark.
The ghost of Ned Stark at the end of the show he's going to come riding down on a chariot pulled by dragons, and he's going to be like, "What's up? You guys killed me. Now I'm going to let the White Walkers kill all of you."
He's going to be holding his head like the Headless Horseman.
Right. It's exactly what it's going to look like, and it's going to be an epic finale. But yeah, we got to see Ned little bits. He was sharpening his sword. We saw him in the dungeon back in season 1 where he was talking to Varys. Briefly, you get glimpses of that. My two favorite images from this whole dream sequence were the throne, the Iron Throne being covered in snow, which was actually kind of a nod back to Daenerys' vision back in season 2. And then I also really dug the dragon flying over King's Landing, which when I saw the trailers, I was like, that's not going to happen this season. I know it's not going to happen this season. Now it makes perfect sense. So either the dragons that is either a flash back to a distant future or a flash forward.
I always like Bran's visions because I always like the mind games that I get to play where trying to read them and figure them out. I enjoy doing that sort of thing. So I really enjoyed that scene. It was cool just to see Ned's face again, just a little reminder. That was kind of cool. But yeah, I really liked, like you said, the scene where the throne is covered in snow and it's empty and no one's sitting on it.
Yeah, nobody's there.
Yeah, and like you said, Daenerys has this same vision. Or something when she's in the House of the Undying back in season 2. It was really cool. I don't understand how seeing all those things says to Bran that he knows where to go. I guess the voice says, yes. Can I remember? It says something, look for me. He says, look for me beneath the tree. That's what the deep voice says. And
yeah.
So somehow this says to Bran, he knows exactly where he's supposed to go. I don't know what that is, but I always like these scenes because it forces me to think really hard about the images, because that means that the images are extremely important.
I had assumed that everything was occurring in the past in those visions, but the one piece I think doesn't really fit very well with that idea is the kind of ice throne thing going on there.
Oh, I think the throne is definitely the future. I think that is definitely the future.
Especially with
interesting enough, the commander at the wall in season 1, he says no one's going to care much who's the king when the White Walkers come. It's all coming down to that, I think. Everyone's going to squabble and kill each other, and then eventually they'll have nothing to kill anything else with.
Right, yeah, no, it's exactly right. And that's what I was saying. With the North, these people are all at civil war, and they're still, even though the Lannisters have kind of now a dynasty really going on, they're still not prepared. They're still recovering from a war, and obviously they're not as safe as they thought they were. So, as all the squabbling goes, White Walkers are going to come down. And, oh no, the White Walkers are going to take the throne. Winter's going to take the throne because no one's going to be there. And I thought that's, still been a great point.
I also really like what I think Jojen or one of the reads say this. They say they're talking to Bran right after his whole vision thing, and they say to him, if we lose you, we lose everything. And I thought that was really interesting because that means that they believe he is the most important thing in their lives right now. And I have this feeling that Bran's story's headed somewhere really awesome and really cool, and I think he has the potential to be one of the most important people in Westeros.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think said last year that Bran wins the throne.
I don't know if he wins the throne, but he is definitely going to be a key player in a late
Extremely important, yeah. And I feel like this sort of sentence kind of confirms that for me a little bit. They know something about Bran that, we know that he has special abilities and powers. We don't know exactly what that means, but Jojen Reed seems to know something more about Bran in the sense that knowing what he is capable of doing with these powers that we as the audience, or at least for me, haven't come to full realization of. And so I'm just really excited to see when he gets there. I know it's going to take a long time to get there.
Well, think back to last week where you start to get the hint that Daenerys cannot control the dragons. I bet Bran could. I bet Bran can control the dragon.
Yeah. What? Now that is the question.
A really good point.
What if he could warg into dragons?
No, what if he could control the White Walkers?
See, here's the thing, and that's the thing I'm coming down to. Someone somewhere out there is going to be able to control the White Walkers. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I feel like it's going to come down to one person controlling dragons and one person controlling White Walkers. Could be totally off on that point, but I really feel like
it's got to be someone they kept around so far for no reason whatsoever, like Samuel Tarly.
Oh, okay, Samuel Tarly. So, what did you guys think about the voice? What exactly do you think that is? Do you have any ideas?
The person that's speaking wants Bran to come to them, and so this three-eyed crow thing, I don't know what it means or whatever, but I think the three-eyed crow is a symbol for someone. I don't know if I believe it's actually a crow. Whatever.
I don't know if I believe it's a person
or whoever, or maybe it's not even a person.
I thought the voice was just kind of Bran's inner voice of sorts. You know, I didn't think it was necessarily a person or a thing, but his inner voice, some sort of intuition, kind of directing him to where he should go. Obviously, I have no idea, but that's kind of was my thoughts on it.
Yeah, gotcha. I have no idea either. I actually haven't even read this part in the book, so I have no idea.
This is all new. This is what we're looking at right now is new stuff, and I've got a pretty good idea of where this is going, but I can't say with 100% certainty exactly, what it all means. There's a lot of interesting things going on up in the north in the Wall, and we did get to catch up with Theon, and we did get to catch up with the Boltons, and we did catch up with Bran, and the other group that we missed out on last week is Stannis, Davos, and Melisandre, and they definitely had an interesting check-in this week, if I do say so myself. So, what is the first thing we see with Stannis this weekend? No, he's not going to the Wall yet. He's still on Dragonstone. What is he doing on Dragonstone? He is burning some of his other commanders at the stake for not renouncing the seven-faced god, seven-headed god.
His brother-in-law of all people, too.
Yes, and one of them is his brother-in-law, who also who gave him a crapload of ships and resources and like an army. Yes, yep. He is burning him by the stake, or Melisandre, actually I should rephrase. Melisandre is burning them by the stake, and Stannis is standing there watching them.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I mean, how the morale of his troops cannot be that high after losing a giant battle, now they're murdering each other. And the weird thing is, I mean, you can see the look on Stannis' face in that scene. He doesn't like doing it, but I think he wants to be king so badly. And he thinks this is the way I need to do it. This is the way I need to do it.
Well,
and it has to backfire on him.
Well, he sees that what Melisandre has works, and I don't think he really believes in it. But he knows it. Like, he doesn't believe in the religion, but he knows it works. So since he knows it works or thinks it works, he's willing to sacrifice people because he thinks that'll help his overall cause. Even though he doesn't believe in the religion, basically the Lord of Light is means to an end. Means he doesn't actually believe in. And exactly. It's starting to eat at him for sure, but I think it's really terrible. He just sits there and watches. These are people he's known for years. I mean, Austin...
His wife was pretty pleased about it.
Oh, his wife's freaking crazy.
Yeah, she's crazy.
And the thing is, you bring this up, I really feel like by the time Stannis actually does anything that's worth anything, he's not going to have much of an army left. He's going to have an army of extremists like his wife, people who are really dedicated to R'hllor, the Lord of Light.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. He doesn't seem like he is into the whole religion thing, but he sees that there are things that work about it, so he's willing to willing to listen to Melisandre if he sort of believes her, not the Lord of Light, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I just don't like Stannis. I feel like when we first were introduced to them, he said that he stood up for all these things and he's kind of thrown them all out of the water. Like I feel like the Stannis we met at the beginning of the series would not have been standing there watching people burn alive. Or let me rephrase that. The person that Stannis wants us to believe that he is is not the person that would be standing there letting people be burned alive. You know?
No. I think that's a very good distinction to make. I've never really liked Stannis a whole lot. Now, who Stannis actually wants to be is probably not a bad person. He wants to be a very just ruler, and I don't think he would be the most likable king, but sure, he could carry out the job. But the thing is, all the things he's had to sacrifice to even believe he's got a chance at taking back that throne, just whittling away at his soul. I mean, when him and Melisandre did it, when they did it, and they had demon vagina baby, he really gave up part of himself there. That's why he can only do it so many times. because
he would probably have been the most competent ruler of like the original like 5 kings or whatever. I truly believe that if it wasn't for all this crazy.
No, dead serious. I'm with you.
He had the skills to do it.
I mean, he lacks charisma, and I don't think he's a great person, but he probably could have been a very good king. The thing is, he's got all this crazy, and and the thing is, he knows it's right. You can just see that it's eating at him. He
Meat's off.
Our larders are almost empty.
Serve fish then. We're on an island.
You hate fish.
I hate a good many things, but I suffer them all the same.
So in his mind, he's like, if this gets me to the throne, then it's worth it.
That's totally right on.
He is the perfect parallel to American politics in general. People just kind of do it and saying whatever they can to get to where they want to be.
He does all those things, but then he won't really own up to it. He still wants people to believe that he's one of the most honorable men in Westeros, and he's not anymore. Like, maybe he was at one point before we met him, but he's like, you can't tell me that you're burning someone because they believe in a different god than you, burning them at the stake, and
how is that honorable? How is that just? And that's why I think Davos is such an essential part of Stannis' character. Is Davos really represents who Stannis was, or at least who Davos believes Stannis was, and that's why you can see him. He is so disgusted by all of this, and he's like, "This is not right. This is not how you're going to do it."
And I think
a totally intolerable storyline without Davos. I really believe that. He provides so much balance to it.
Yeah, we see kind of Stannis lash out at Davos several times, even though for some reason Davos is the most loyal person I've ever that we know of, in this world.
Undoubtedly.
I don't know. Honestly, I think that Davos should just sort of cut his losses and get out of there.
Oh yeah, he should have cut his losses and gotten. He shouldn't have. Okay, honestly, last season when he met his pirate buddy who picked him up,
he should not have gone back. I feel like the reason that we're seeing these. We are seeing Stannis sort of lash out at Davos is because Davos is making Stannis feel guilty, and he's actually thinking in his head, yeah, you're probably right, but he doesn't want to deal with it because, like you said, he's so convinced that this other way will get him to the king. He thinks if he listens to Davos, he's not going to end up being king, and he's not willing to buy that. So he then just gets mad. He gets mad at Davos because he thinks he's right. Does that make? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no. So I mean,
it's like his conscience.
Yeah,
Davos
exactly. is essentially Jiminy Cricket.
When you get in trouble and you don't know right from wrong, give a little whistle. Give a little whistle.
Well, I mean, and even last season, I mean, there's that shot at the end of season 3 that we talked about in our season 3 recap, where Melisandre's on one shoulder and Davos is on the other. I mean, it's that parallel there, like they're both on their shoulder trying to advise him one way or the other, and clearly Stannis is kind of trying to resolve the two within himself, and in my opinion, he's totally failing horribly. Now, with Davos, we mentioned his crazy wife, and holy crap, guys, she's crazy. She's so crazy that she thinks her daughter, who just happens to have grayscale, a disease that is just actually not that uncommon in Westeros, she believes their family is cursed because of by the Lord of Light, which I'm like, she's sick. That doesn't make her cursed by God. I mean, it's just kind of crazy, right? And then I thought that this was a great gateway for them to talk a little bit about the doctrine, which we don't have to get super into, but it is interesting to get more in depth with the religion of the Lord of Light. And we talked a little bit about this last year, Ian.
We get a little bit of Melisandre's character, which is I really want to know more about her. We know next to nothing about her. Yeah. All the things we know about her, the things that she has said, and in those situations, you could easily see her just using those statements as manipulation tools. For example, one, she said that she used to be a slave, but she said that to Gendry, and for all we know, she could have just been saying that to kind of gain his trust. But the line that I really enjoyed was, they're talking about with Stannis' daughter, they're talking about the 7 gods and all that, and she says there are only 2 gods. And I really like the parallels here. This is the order that she says them in. She says the god of light, love, and joy. And then she says, and the other god is the god of darkness, evil, and fear. And so you have the parallel of light and darkness, which is, obviously that's been done before. Like yin and yang. Yeah. And then there's evil and love, and then there's fear and joy. And I thought that was a really interesting statement, the way that she paralleled these are the 3 words that describe each god. We also know that she doesn't just believe in this one god, she believes that there's another god, but that this god is against the Lord of Light.
Well, it's basically painting him to be the polar. Is trying to paint him as the polar opposite of the Lord of Light.
Exactly. We have seen evidence of the Lord of Light in the show. So if she's saying that this other God exists where has he shown up? Has he shown up in the show, or will he show up?
We can definitely draw a lot of conclusions that it's called the Great Other in the books, but the character she's talking about, now, they might eventually call it that, and they do tie the White Walkers to the Great Other. I guess that might be a tiny spoiler. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to get to that or not, but I always kind of figured the Lord of Light is the Song of Ice and Fire. So you see Fire, Lord of Light. We've gotten tons of that, but we've hardly gotten any of this Great Other that at least I assume is tied to the White Walkers somehow. I mean, again, I think the show is building up to a very big climactic battle between two forces, and that I think we've seen a lot more of the Fire than the Other. I mean, you see dragons with Daenerys, you see the Lord of Light, you see all those things, and then I kind of want to jump to the conclusion that wherever Bran's heading, I really do think wherever Bran's heading is going to be related to this other god. I really do.
I would definitely buy that.
Because he's going north, just keep continuously going north, and I think that it's not insignificant. I don't think the fact that the White Walkers are coming from the north is insignificant either. And honestly, that's a little bullcrap. Every adjective she gave this guy is a bunch of bull. The only positive thing, quote unquote good thing we've seen happen from the Lord of Light is Beric Dondarrion came back from the dead. That's pretty cool. But otherwise, it's all burning. It's all burning people and hoodoo magic and slugs sucking blood out of people. I mean, none of that's good.
And we don't see. For me personally, I don't see love and joy coming out of any of those situations.
Oh no.
So I don't buy her descriptions of the god. But it's interesting that she put it in that phrase.
Like you said, she talks about the current life being hell, essentially. Well, if that's the case, why didn't she jump on the fire? She'd be much happier later on.
Do you want to go ahead and let's move on and talk some King's Landing, because this is going to be a fun one, guys. But before we hop into the big event of the event, let's go all the way back to the beginning. And the first scene we have this week is Tyrion and Jaime. Power team. I'm very excited about this. I love those two characters together because they don't really get to interact a whole lot together. And I thought this was a great scene, honestly. You basically had the two of them kind of chatting back and forth, and you really do get this sense that these guys do love each other.
It was a really cool scene to see, and I like how Tyrion just sort of says, you just lost your hand. It's not like you lost all these other things. You can still be of use in this world, stop putting yourself down,
Right.
So right. I'm a dwarf. I really wanted to kind of be like, I'm a dwarf. You can deal with having a hand,
he goes back to that his quote in the very first episode where he's like, I'm a dwarf, might as well be a bastard. The world's not going to let you forget it, so neither should you. So just live it up.
Accept your flaw or disability or whatever it is, and make it use it to your advantage in some way.
I sense a new budding bromance, guys. Tyrion and Bran have been on the downswing for a while now. But who's next? Jaime and Bran, come on.
That was fun.
Jaime, Bran, and Brienne would be a great team.
Dude, that would be even better than the Three Musketeers of Arya the Hound and Sansa. Heck yeah. Why not? This is the spin-off show right here. We're pitching it to HBO.
I really liked, all the comments that Bran was making. They're really funny and things like that. It is interesting that Jaime is actually going to go out and train himself and try to get as good as he was with his other hand. So it'll be interesting to see where that sort of goes.
Protect the king.
Yes, it's very important to protect the king.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's kind of the sole purpose of his life right now, since he can't. Apparently, him and Cersei aren't going to be doing it any longer, and he already turned down Casterly Rock. So better be able to protect that king. Mm-hmm. Whoops.
Well, I mean, it's really only helpful if someone's trying to kill him with a sword, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I think, though.
What you do, if he's poisoned, you get the poison out, so you stab him and you just let it drain out.
True. You got to suck out the poison.
So we got reintroduced to Varys this season for a very, very brief scene where he's basically like, what the F, man? Why is Shay still here? Tywin's going to freaking kill her, and he's probably going to kill whoever he catches with her.
And they found out, he tells Tyrion that they have found out about her and that they are planning to take care of it.
Tyrion tries to send her away. And guys, this scene was really frustrating for a number of reasons. On one hand, Tyrion is just at the point where he's like, all right, I'll lie to this chick. I don't really care. She's just got to get out of here. Could protect her own life. She won't listen to me. So I just have to blatantly tell her no. But here's the thing that frustrates me, is it's very obvious that he is only pretending not to care about her, and she just doesn't get it. I don't know about you guys, that irritate the heck out of me. It's like, no. I mean, Shay, can you not tell that he really cares about you? He really does. He's not doing this. He's doing this because he loves you. And
yes, I agree with you. But she's doing it because she really, really loves him. And how many people in Westeros feel that way about Tyrion. It's really only Shay. Only Shay throughout all of Tyrion's life has given him that kind of attention that wasn't being paid or any of those things. Shay's the only one.
Which is why he has to send her, which is why she has to go away.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree. But be able to look past all those things, she really, really loves him. Yes, I agree. She probably should see that he's lying and that sort of thing, and I think she knows that. But the reason she ends up breaking down is not because she thinks that Tyrion doesn't love her. It's because she realizes it's over now. It really has to be over. I think that's the first point where she stops being in denial about it and really accepts, like, I have to go, and I don't want to go. So I took that scene a little differently than you, I think.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
I've honestly, to be fair, I've never really bought that relationship. It just never really clicked with me. I don't know if it's the actress or the chemistry, the way it's written. It just never quite. I mean, it just never clicked for her. Character never really clicked for me a whole lot. So it's something. It's a hard sell for me this far in the game because I haven't really bought into it yet. And they've been together for what, 3 seasons now.
Mm-hmm. And I always liked it. I always liked it for that purpose because Tyrion has always had these relationships with just a bunch of randoms, essentially. And this is the first person that loved him. His father doesn't love him. His sister hates him. Everybody hates him. Everybody hates Tyrion.
And Jaime doesn't.
Who think Jaime does not. You're correct.
It's interesting how they sort of played that whole situation out. It wasn't exactly how I thought it was going to go, but I don't know. I think I personally really get frustrated with Shay a lot. I really don't like Shay, but I will say I did buy their relationship to some extent. I believe that he loved her and she loved him. I think that he loved her. This is going to sound weird. I believe he loved her on a much deeper level than she loved him.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
But I do think that she, on some level, did love him to some degree. But her reaction is, we can fight, the world together, sort of that.
Right. Yeah, and she is like that, and again, that's because she just doesn't quite have, and understandably, she's not in position. She's
Hold on.
Who's still relatively new to King's Landing. She doesn't
Right.
really have a real grasp on the dangers. Like, she
Yeah,
doesn't
I don't
think
she's definitely very naive, for
yes,
sure.
definitely.
I will say I thought it was interesting that they didn't show her getting sent away on the boat, but this show's also done some weird things like that before where events get mentioned offhand like they just happen. So, I don't know. Bronn,
They didn't show it. They also questioned it in the show.
Yeah, they brought it up like two questions that like 3 or 4 times in the show.
Go start drinking until you feel like you've done the right thing.
Yes, that's what it is. And I thought it was a really nice quote. It was interesting that they did bring it up, and Tyrion brings it. He says it like 3 times. You're sure. You're sure. You're sure. Bronn says she's on the vote, and I trust Bronn. So
yeah, I do not trust Bronn with a freaking 10-foot pole. He looks he's always seemed so sleazy, and I know he's never done anything to make me think that.
Well, he is a sellsword, and like. I believe that, if someone paid him more than Tyrion, I think they have to pay him a lot more. I think that if they just let's say whatever Tyrion's paying him, they offer 2% more than that, whatever it is. I don't believe that he would go against Tyrion because I think he does like being with Tyrion and stuff like that. Yeah. But I do believe that if a huge amount of money was offered to him.
You know who could offer him huge amounts of money?
I think he would take it. Would be Tywin, yeah.
Well, I always get the feeling that I'm with Stull on this one, that I feel like Bronn does have a sense of friendship and bond there that might hold them together to some very limited extent. I feel like if someone was going to offer him more to go against Tyrion, they would have to offer him a lot more. But I also think if someone like Tywin came in and doubled it, Bronn's gonna fold. Bronn will fold for money.
Totally do it.
You don't fight with honor.
No. He did.
the scene before the wedding. Yeah, it's like a gifting. It's kind of a gifting ceremony where they present their big gifts, and we got introduced to Mace Tyrell in the scene. That is Papa Tyrell, kind of the head of the family household.
He's the most ridiculous looking dude.
He's got a mustache that looks kind of awesome.
He's like his head is like a hairy thumb. It's really weird.
He's got a bald patch. He's kind of fat. Yeah, teach his own.
And he seems really dumb. He seems really dumb.
He probably is because listen. That family is secretly ran by the Tyrell women. I mean, when Olenna is your mom and your daughter's Marjorie, I'm saying whoever's that in between women's probably a freaking genius. So just saying.
The most hilarious part is when Elena, when Mace comes down while Elena's talking to Tywin, and she's just like, "Go away, get out of here. This is none of your business."
Yeah.
I love her
shows how
character. I just think she's awesome.
Just
Just
as the
her,
head of the house.
yeah, I love her. I think just her bluntness and her just willing to say whatever she wants to say and just being okay with that is. I just really like her character. She's really funny, so I really like her as a character.
Yeah. So what do you guys
I
make
got
of
off
this?
topic, but the gifts are important.
Yeah, the gifts are important. So the first we get is Tyrion Mace presents something. What he presents is not significant. But then Tyrion...
Well, it's a goblet, I think, or something.
Oh, a goblet?
Goblet or something like that.
Okay.
He calls it a drinking cup, but it's like huge. It's like humongous.
It's like the Stanley Cup is what it is.
Yeah, it's like a trophy kind of cup. That's how big it is.
Freaking huge. And then Tyrion comes up and delivers this really awesome history book, and he's like, "This is a great book." See, here's the thing. I feel like Tyrion, even though he hates Joffrey and despises him, he actually put a little bit of thought into what he got him. It wasn't even like a spiteful gift. He's like, "Listen, this is just a book. If I was king, I would think all kings should read."
Yeah, but at the same time, he knows Joffrey's not going to read it.
I know.
Read it. And
But it's still a valuable book from his collection, though.
He knows that it's a good, valuable gift that Joffrey will totally not appreciate, and that's exactly why he gives it to him. It's his way of saying, I am way smarter than you.
But at the same time, he is right. Like, it sounds like a book that every king should read, so...
Yeah.
It's not like he gave him something useless.
Yeah.
No. But I think that's his point. It's him saying every king should read this book, and you're not a real king, and you're never going to read it.
Well, you could look at it that way. That could be a way to fight him.
Yeah.
And he never does read it.
Oh. I don't know. He could have came back and put the pages back together and...
wait. He didn't come back.
And then the other gift was the other Valyrian steel sword that everyone was like, "Where's the other sword? Where's the other sword?" There it is. It's called Widow's Wail. Excuse me. Let me turn to our creative consultant, the Hound. Excuse me, Mr. Hound, Sandra Clegane. What do you have to say about such a thing?
So she named your sword.
Lots of people name their swords.
Lots of kudos.
So he names his sword, and then he cuts the frickin' book in half. What a jerk! I feel like this episode was really pushing hard. It was a grand Joffrey send-off. It's like, man, you thought this guy was a douchebag before. Well, let me remind you of all the reasons he is the biggest douchebag in Westeros. Yeah. Finally, we move on to the event, the grand event.
Now, before we start, I would just like to say, I think this actually was like a 25-minute ordeal. Like, we spent the last 25 minutes of the show, or the episode, I believe, at the wedding.
Yeah.
And I love the way that they set this up. Just the way that we have all the little conversations going on throughout the wedding. I'm sure we'll get to all of them. But just the way that you see Cersei go over here and talk to this person, and so-and-so go over to here and talk to this person, and Oberyn talk to Tywin, and there's all these little conversations going on all over the place. And all of them are really great conversations, really good character moments in each conversation. And I just really love the way that they did this scene. I think it's a great way to show this wedding and have it not just be about the wedding, but you getting to see all these little character moments.
So I am totally with you. I'm a big fan of Game of Thrones has so many different storylines. It's very rare that they actually focus in on one for a bulk of the episode. And right. Blackwater is an anomaly because that is the only episode of the show that focused on one event at one location. So this is it was kind of done in a similar vein in the second half of the episode where it was just the wedding all the time. I loved it too, and it did. It brought a sense of continuity and flow to the wedding that we wouldn't have had if we were cutting back and forth between these other storylines. Stull, what are your three favorite moments of this wedding? Ex-nay on Joffrey dead.
One of them that really sticks out for me is the Oberyn and Tywin / Cersei conversation. There was a lot of sword jousting going on in that conversation, and it was performed very well by both sides, I would like to say.
Yeah, verbal jousting. They were like jab with my words. It was kind of like pseudo passive aggressive threats. They're kind of like, well, back in Dorne, we don't like to go and rape and kill order people to go kill people. It's a good thing Marcella's there because we would never do that to her.
Lord Tywin. Prince Oberyn. I don't believe you have met Ilaria. This is the Lord Hand, Tywin Lannister, and Cersei Lannister, the Queen Regent. I suppose it is former Queen Regent now. Lord Hand, Lady Cersei, Ilaria-san.
My lord, my lady.
Charmed.
Can't say I've ever met a sand before.
We are everywhere in Dorne. I have 10,000 brothers and sisters.
Bastards are born of passion, aren't they? We don't despise them in Dorne.
No, how tolerant of you.
I expect it is a relief, Lady Cersei. Giving up your regal responsibilities. Wearing the crown for so many years must have left your neck a bit crooked.
Suppose you'll never know, Prince Oberyn. It's a shame your older brother couldn't attend the wedding.
Please give him our regards. With any luck, the gout will abate with time and he'll be able to walk again.
They call it the rich man's disease. A wonder you don't have it.
Noblemen in my part of the country don't enjoy the same lifestyle as our counterparts in Dorne.
People everywhere have their differences. In some places, the highborn frown upon those of low birth. In other places, the rape and murder of women and children is considered distasteful. What a fortunate thing for you, former Queen Regent, that your daughter Myrcella has been sent to live in the latter sort of place.
And for those of you who don't remember, Myrcella is the Lannister child that was sent off back in season 2 when Tyrion was king. They sent her back to Dorne as kind of a
King's Hand.
They sent her from King's Landing as an act of good faith to kind of strengthen political ties to the Martells and to protect Myrcella from the upcoming Battle of Blackwater. And she's still there.
That was probably one of my top moments. The other moment that was really cool was the dwarf play, the dwarf little skit that they did.
Yeah, me too.
The way that when I read it in the book, it's just so hilarious when it happens.
I mean, come on, guys, dwarfs are funny. I mean, I hope I'm not evil for saying that, but it's kind of funny when they roll out there like that.
Yeah. So when I'm reading it in the book, I remember kind of laughing out loud, just the way that the scene was being described and stuff like that. So it was really funny. I didn't know if they were actually going to put it in the show because it's kind of a minor detail in the book. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not necessarily. It's not like a.
It's not a play. It's
not Joffrey setting it up like that.
A dwarf riding. I feel like one of them's riding a pig, and one of them's riding like a pony or something like that, and they're jousting.
It's not
and everyone's laughing and enjoying it versus the show where it's like clearly distasteful.
Yeah, it's not distasteful at all in the book. So it's really hilarious in the book. It's just this entertainment thing that kind of goes on. There's no Joffrey making all these statements within the play and stuff like that. So that's not happening in the book. So I really wanted to see it in the show, and the fact that they brought it in was really awesome. One of my favorite lines from the wedding, actually. So I'm gonna say this is one of my favorites was the Elena, yeah. When she goes up to Sansa and she's trying to comfort Sansa, which I thought was kind of cool. I don't know why she. Sort of interesting that she likes to comfort Sansa, but I thought that was kind of cool. But the line that she says, "I'm gonna go eat some food that I paid for now," she's always so funny. She always cracks me up, and so that little moment was kind of cool too. She's always just hilarious.
The wedding scene was so good that you said none of my three.
Really? This is perfect, Austin. What are your three? Awesome. What are three of yours?
I liked a few of the scenes. First and foremost, the Jamie Loras exchange.
Yes,
that was great. It was so good.
Your sister looks very beautiful.
As does yours.
So, to your wedding?
Yes, very much.
Our fathers are both rather keen on the prospect.
They certainly are.
Perhaps they should get married. If you were to marry Cersei, she'd murder you in your sleep. If you somehow managed to put a child in her first, she'd murder him too, long before he drew his first breath. Luckily for you, none of this will happen, because you'll never marry her.
And neither will you.
Oh, so good.
Then Brienne shows up. She comes and she bows and kind of pays her respects. And they kind of make fun of her a little bit for bowing. They said, "You're a lady. You're supposed to curtsy," which has never been her style. And she's just really cool. So it was fun to see her. I really liked that exchange there when she kind of formally introduces herself. But it was even better later on when Cersei approaches her and talks about, whether you like it or not, you are a lady. You have royal blood in you. You are who you are. And I think Cersei, just being her normal kind of self, she I think half jokingly says, "Oh, well, you love Jaime, don't you?" Like almost like you would on a schoolyard, you love him. And the look on Brienne's face, like, Shh, how'd she find out? How'd she know? And then the look on Cersei's face, like, oh crap, you really do love him. And then they both look at Jaime, and Jaime's like, uh-oh, why are they talking to each other? It's
Why are they looking at me?
Fantastic. It's fantastic. And that's just how good the wedding was, is that there was no overlap in between our scenes there.
It was just really well done, really fantastic.
Yeah, well, you guys definitely hit all mine between the Brienne and definitely the Martell Lannister exchange. Also, just a few there's so minor things. This is what I love about the show, that you can just fall in love with the details, okay? One of them was when Loras looks over at Oberyn Martell and they give each other the wink. Not the what's up wink, the my place tonight wink.
Yeah,
I
that
was like,
hilarious.
oh snap. So apparently they've got to go in thing. And then if you go back and rewatch that scene, watch Varys's the spider, watch his face throughout that entire scene. It's kind of hilarious. Because the camera cuts to him a few times, like him and a couple other people who are sitting next to each other, and like his look is just so unbelievable. It's like
he does get hit by one of the dwarves in the head with one of their little props or whatever at one point too.
Yeah,
like they just bop him on the back of the head, and he's just sort of like, I'm not amused face, like.
Yeah. Well, he like looks bored, not amused, and then it just changes every single time it cuts to him. It's really funny. So that's a really small detail there. And then something I want to hint at is I think the scene is capturing a lot of things, but one of them is Cersei coming to terms with that she is not a queen anymore, and she doesn't have power anymore. And that was highlighted by the scene with her and Pycelle specifically. He's like, oh, Marjorie already promised to give all the way of food to the poor. Well, I'm the queen, and I'm telling you to throw it to the dogs, or I'll throw you to the dogs. And it's like, she's still trying to assert herself as this powerful figure, when she really doesn't have any power anymore. She's not even the queen regent. She's just there. And you kind of, the Martells hint at that, and her exchange with Brienne kind of hints at that, but it's kind of a scene where she is coming to terms with herself a little bit, interestingly enough.
And we didn't even touch on anything with Tyrion throughout all this.
Well, no, that's
really
right.
The focal point.
Yeah, exactly, and I was getting there. My favorite, and then my last favorite moment was when Tyrion is the thing when Joffrey says, "Uncle, go and join them on the stage or whatever, go fight them."
Oh yes,
that line he says was so impeccable.
Surely there are others out there who still dare to challenge my reign. Uncle, how about you? I'm sure they have a spare costume.
One taste of combat was enough for me, Your Grace. I would like to keep what remains of my face. I think you should fight him. This was but a poor imitation of your own bravery on the field of battle. I speak as a first-hand witness. Climb down from the high table with your new Valyrian sword, and show everyone how a true king wins his throne. Be careful, though. This one is clearly mad with lust. It would be a tragedy for the king to lose his virtue hours before his wedding night.
He just basically tells Joffrey, you're a coward. I won your frickin' battle of the Battle of Blackwater. You gave me no credit, so I already fought that battle. Why doesn't the king who ran away go out and fight? I think you need to earn your title.
He does it in the most beautiful way, too, because no one else knows that, really. I mean, some people do, obviously, but really that's just an exchange between him and Tyrion, and it's really, really nice.
Yeah, I thought it was really great. And Tyrion, just his little moments there, here and there, the exchanges between them were really powerful, and it was a proper send-off to that relationship, which is Tyrion clearly thinking his nephew's an idiot, and still trying to make the best of the circumstances he has, and then Joffrey trying at every corner to make him look make his uncle look like an idiot.
Well, see, here's what ends up happening though to me, because the way he delivers that line, if you're just a regular bystander, you think that that's like not a bad statement from Tyrion.
Exactly.
You think, he's saying, he's giving the king his props or whatever. And so then the way that Joffrey responds is by pouring wine on his head. And so it makes Joffrey look kind of stupid to the regular bystander. And Tyrion even says, I'm sorry it spilled, like he's being, and so for me, it's a little bit of Tyrion also, and all he knows that reaction is going to kind of come from Joffrey, and he sort of makes Joffrey look stupid in that whole situation too, even though Joffrey thinks that he's making, fun of Tyrion, which he is a little bit. He's embarrassing him, But he's also making Joffrey look really dumb and stupid in front of everyone.
Well, that's why and Tyrion tries to play it highbrow the whole time. Try to play it classier. He's just like, okay, that's a waste of good wine if you ask me, but you're the king, so
But Joffrey
I totally agree.
definitely gets the upper hand once he decides you're my cupbearer. In that exchange, you could see the defeat on Tyrion's face, or it's just like, well, this is what I have to do now. I don't have a choice. It was really sad and humiliating there for a bit. You could just see like he's the king, you know? He's still the king, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Right. And ultimately at the end of the day I have to do what he says.
Right.
Or I get killed. And then of course my favorite line Joffrey drops is like, kneel.
Kneel before your king. Kneel. I said.
Kneel before Zod! How satisfied were you guys when Joffrey finally bit it?
We talked about this too a little bit. I think people wanted something more violent, something more, and not even just violent, but they wanted him to recognize at the end everything that he had done wrong, you know? Almost the same way that Theon did. I think Theon recognized how badly he screwed up. But I don't know that would have been any more satisfying, really. I mean, we saw it with Theon. That didn't make me feel any better about Theon. I'm just glad to have him gone. And I'm very, very interested in seeing the follow-up, I guess.
This may be the only time in the history of watching TV shows or watching movies with friends where a character is dying in a pretty gruesome way. I mean, his face is turning purple, blood is spewing out of him, and there are people laughing in the room.
Right.
Like, the room that I was in, there were people laughing at it. I was like,
it was same with me, yeah.
That may be the only time that's ever happened. People like, yes, like they're like just so happy to see this character die. And it's maybe the first time it's ever happened to me in a room, just where you're so excited, like that you're just laughing at this person who's like not having the most fun, like the most peaceful death.
But how did you feel about it?
You know, I will say this. I'm not fully satisfied because Joffrey did a lot of terrible things, but in the end, the things that like the Robb situation or all these big moments, Joffrey had nothing to do with. So it wasn't, I guess I should say it wasn't justice. Yes, I think that he deserved to die, but there's no justice for Robb in his death. There's no justice for Catelyn in his death. There's no justice for Ned in his death because it's just like, kind of like Austin was saying, it's good that it's nice to see him gone, but that's all it is. There's no, like, I was satisfied to see his death on screen. That was kind of cool because when I read it, I read that and I was like, oh my gosh, this just happened, and I just kind of rushed on. Like, it was cool to see it, and I'm glad he's gone, but it wasn't like yes, I finally have justice for all these characters, It
wasn't like Arya Stark runs up to him, stabs him in breaks both his kneecaps, looks at him and says, "You killed my father, you son of a..."
Hold on.
And then, stabs him through the throat. It wasn't like last week with Pavo where you're like, yes, she got that guy back. That guy got justice because right before he died, he realized he was dead. It was another death in a series of senseless deaths, and it didn't really feel like it didn't feel like it come back around.
He was just, to me, he was a flat character. He was very, very one-dimensional. Despite him being a vehicle for a lot of storylines, he wasn't really taking anything much further. Like, I think for, at least a half a season, it was just kind of dragging on with him. And a lot of stuff was happening around him, but with him, it was just dragging. Well, and I think it got to the point where it's starting to hold back the story, and that's when George R.R. Martin decides to kill people off. When they're not adding anything to the story, it's time to get rid of them.
Yeah, well, and there was a couple things Martin has to say about it, but before you mention that, I do want to say that I think Joffrey really did. He was more of a symbol than he was an active character, and I think that's the point. He represented everything that is wrong with Westeros.
Yeah,
there's not a good flame. He's sick and sadistic, and the fact that this guy can get on the throne in this world just goes to show you how flawed and scary the world is, and how no one can question it, because if they do, they're going to get killed. And so obviously, you know, like Stull said, none of the things that we were upset about, the death of Robb. I mean, I guess the death of Dead was definitely Joffrey's fault. That was an all Joffrey move. I don't think that he was ever really a truly active character. I mean, he set this all into motion, but I think outside of that, he really has just represented Westeros and the corruption that's going on there.
Part of the not being fully satisfied in it is the fact that Joffrey doesn't have that realization moment where he realizes what he's done and he has to die with that as his final thought. He's just dying as a scared boy,
right?
You know, who thinks that he's perfectly fine. He doesn't
actually feel like he did anything wrong.
Exactly, and I would have, to be fully satisfied, I would have liked to have seen that. Now, I'm not saying that George R. R. Martin should have written that in there. That's not what I'm saying. But for like a satisfied, you know, just to be satisfied, that would have been really cool to see.
Honestly, my whole take on the Joffrey death was along the lines Stull had. Like, I remember when I was reading it, and I had the similar feeling when you're watching it too. It takes a second for you to realize he's actually dying. You're like, wait. I remember like reading it like, oh, he's choking. That's weird. What's going on? Oh wait, he's dying. Holy crap! Like, this is it. He's dying, and then you're like, you're kind of happy, but then you're like, once it's done, you're like, wait. It's very surreal. I remember having the feeling reading it, like even the next couple of chapters, I was like, wait, that's how he died? Like, that's how he went out? Like, it was a weird and bizarre feeling. And the other thing about it is, did you feel any sympathy at all? Because I remember, I do remember, there is the sense that I don't feel bad for Joffrey, but he's still a 13-year-old kid, and there's like this, even though he's not innocent whatsoever.
He already lost his innocence.
I remember when I was reading it, I felt like, yeah, take that. I mean, I remember the way Tyrion describes it in his mind.
It wasn't.
The way Tyrion describes it is he's like, oh crap, it's a 13-year-old kid. But go ahead.
It's just relief. That's all. Just relief. It's over. It's gone. We can move on. Get on to a king that apparently really likes kitty cats.
Yay.
Yeah, it's just relief from me. That's all.
Yeah, and I think going back to, you know, what we were saying earlier about the satisfaction or whatever, I like that we don't get it, and that George R. R. Martin doesn't write it that way, and like a fantasy that I would have if he could have had that moment, I would have liked for it, but I don't think it's really realistic for that to happen.
Yeah, and still, you know, going back to what you're saying, I think that we've already been kind of trained in traditional storytelling, like this is the bad guy, he's going to get his comeuppance, and he still does, but not in the way that is more traditional, where like the hero comes in and fights him off. No, this is again George R. R. Martin kind of you know, subverting expectations. He's building up this big bad guy that you think is going to die in a big epic way by the good guys, quote unquote, which there aren't really any good or bad guys in Game of Thrones. But he's going to get the Starks are going to get him. You know, someone is going to get him. But no, this is more realistic. It is way more likely that an insane psychopath as king is going to get assassinated like this secretly, as opposed to have someone come actually make it and wage an open war on him. You know what I mean? And
he was assassinated. Maybe he just choked.
He could have just choked on the chicken bones, man. It was that pie. I don't know, chicken. There was birds he cut up in the pie. All right, guys. Joffrey's gone. And there's only one way we could send Joffrey Baratheon / Lannister off, and that's the song. Play it, Bill.
So long as I am your king, treason shall never go unpunished. Sir Ilyn, bring me his head.
We've had vicious kings, and we've had idiot kings, but I don't know if we've ever been cursed with a vicious idiot.
You can't. Tell me, which do you favor? Your fingers or your tongue? Our king does not ask. He commands. Fingers or your tongue? If you got to keep one, which would it be?
No.
He's done.
And command him to send Robb Stark's head. I'm going to serve it to Sansa at my wedding feast. I am the king!
The man who must say, I am the king, is no true king.
Oh, good. He's washing down.
Your Grace.
It's nothing.
It's hurting!
King is tired. Grand Maester, perhaps some essence of nightshade to help him sleep.
I'm not tired.
Fuck the King's Guard. Fuck the city. Fuck the king.
I'm telling Mother.
This is the whodunit portion of the show. And luckily, we have Detective Lucari on the case. We are going to find out who killed Joffrey Baratheon. Was it? Did Oberyn Martell kill him with his deadly good looks? Did Brianna Tarth spit poison into her cup as she was bowing? Or did a poison suppository fall out of a bird as it's flying overhead?
Detective Lucari is on the case. He has been investigating, hyper-analyzing every movement of this scene. Mr. Lucari, who did it?
So, the glorious thing about this scene is that I can make a really good argument, at least a decent argument, for almost everybody. You have Dantos, the fool. He comes in, he makes an appearance last week for seemingly no reason, all of a sudden shows up this week. Why is he here? What's he doing? All I know is getting balls thrown at him, and he's probably not too happy about it. Boom! Kills Joffrey. We have Tywin. Tywin can't control Joffrey anymore. Joffrey's starting to buck back just a little bit here and there, making the Lannisters look bad. Boom! Kills Joffrey.
He's like, that kid didn't go to bed when I told him to. That's the last straw.
Varys has been speaking out against Joffrey for seasons. Can't stand him. Would rather see Tyrion on the throne. Thinks Tyrion is the only one who could really rule Westeros justly. He could have done it. But in all seriousness, I started thinking about this, and I haven't read the books, so this is all just my speculation.
Yeah, let's go ahead and specify right now, and we'll re-specify later. Me and Daniel Stull I have read book all the way through book 5, and Daniel, how far have you read?
I'm still in the beginnings of book 4. I'm probably about 1/5 of the way through the book 4.
Okay, great. So we've both read the events that unfold.
So we both are aware, have a lot more. We know who is involved.
We know who is involved. Yes.
Right.
This is the way I see it. Obviously, whoever kills him doesn't like Joffrey. That could be anybody. At first, I'm thinking, okay, doesn't like Joffrey, but also doesn't like Tyrion because he's trying to frame Tyrion. Who could that be? Really, the only person I could think of that would be willing to kill Joffrey and also kind of hates Tyrion would be Cersei. I think Cersei would have no problem killing her own kid. In fact, Jaime alludes to as much earlier in the episode where he says, when he's talking to Loras, says she'd kill your child if you ever had. I found it unlikely at first that she would be the one to do it, really. There seemed to be better suspects, essentially. But then I started thinking, okay, so maybe Tyrion's just collateral damage. Maybe they don't necessarily dislike him, they just don't care about him. So maybe the Tyrells could have done it. Olenna Tyrell was dropping like little hints and like little lines here and there all over the place. When she's talking to Sansa earlier in the wedding, she's talking about how horrible it is to kill someone at a wedding and blah 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 blah, which was really interesting. I don't know what the Tyrells have to gain from his death. Seemingly, Marjorie was going to be queen, so she could have more power if she's married to Joffrey. I don't think the wedding wasn't consummated. I don't know if that's a rule in Westeros or not. But even if it wasn't, they could always marry her off to Tommen, who would be the new king in this scenario. So I'm not sure what the Tyrells benefit from this. aside from just killing off Joffrey because they hate him.
They do get if that were the case, that would at the very least keep Marjorie out of danger. Because as we all know, Joffrey's kind of a sociopath. Who the heck's gonna want to be married or have their granddaughter married to that person?
She knew that going into it. She knew it. That's nothing new. It's not news to her. She knew she was a sociopath. In fact, they invited Sansa over to talk about that very subject before the wedding ever happened.
But they were already pledged beforehand. Like, it was one of those things where they hopped in first. They're like, oh crap, we're pledging this. They're pragmatists, game power.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we're gonna pledge and we'll figure out how to deal with him later.
Maybe it isn't even that with Tyrion. Maybe Tyrion is just in wrong place, wrong time. And he is just a victim of the circumstance. No one's actually trying to frame him at all. He just happened to be there. And I think what sealed it for me is when I discovered what a maester's job was. I didn't know what a maester was. I had no idea. Apparently, their entire job is potions and poisons. So why would Cersei, in the middle of the wedding, send away the only person that would have a chance of curing someone with a poison, send him to the kitchen to feed the dogs? So for me, that really, really seals the fact that at least Cersei was involved. And if she's involved, she's not smart enough to do it on her own. She's not. If she's involved, I think almost everyone I've mentioned so far is also involved. I think this was a vast, wide conspiracy.
The police are always off track with this shit. If they watch prom night, they'd save time. There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
Tywin, Cersei, the Tyrells. I don't know if Varys knew. I feel like if he knew, he'd have said something to Tyrion. Tyrion did not know. But I think pretty much everyone at that wedding knew what was going to happen and knew what was going on. Marjorie played it up. She was trying to feed him the pie, which at first I always thought that the wine was the poison. Then actually my wife actually brought up that it might have been the pie. He was drinking the wine the whole night. It didn't. I was watching the cup. I never saw anyone slip anyone.
We did. When we watched the second time, me and him both hyper analyzed the movement of the cup.
We watched the cup very, very closely. I don't think it was the cup. Could have been the pie. And Marjorie was very, very happy to feed him the pie. She never took a bite herself. She just shoved it right into his face.
You know, I think we got some great theories here. Cersei, Varys, Marjorie. There's a lot out there. But I think you're all wrong, Austin. It's a great investigation. You know who I think it is? I think it's Bran, using his powers, traveling thousands of miles to take over the bird, carrying the poison, dropping it in the cup, and flying off. I think that's it.
That's my thoughts on it. Hopefully in the coming weeks we can find out. And if we don't, this may become a recurring segment where I speculate and
based on new evidence obtained week to week.
That's right.
Who done it?
You did it.
They all did it. But if you want to know who killed Mr. Body, I did. In the hall. With the revolver.
All right, guys. Well, that was a great recap. Austin, thank you so much for presenting all your theories, and I can't wait to hear what next week's are, given that we don't find out who his killer was. Very excited. Well, guys, we promised it way from the get-go at the beginning that we were going to read through some of the listener questions. So let's go ahead and move into our feedback section, where we kind of pick out a few of the questions you guys have listed and questions and comments, and we'll discuss them a little for a few minutes. All right, we'll start really quickly down here. Coming from Matt Andrews, if Stannis goes to the wall and defends Westeros from the White Walkers, will he be redeemed in your eyes? Good question, Matt. I don't think redeemed is the right word. I think it's more like a step in the right direction. He's acting. He's doing a kingly act. Does that redeem him for burning people at the stake? No, it doesn't.
I'm with Caleb on that. For him to be redeemed, for me, he would have to understand that he's been completely. I guess I shouldn't say completely, but he's been very manipulated by Melisandre, and he would have to come to terms that he should not have been listening to her. For me, that would, and then making a decision that was an opposition of her, would then gain me some respect and maybe some redemption for me, for him.
Yeah, same here. For me to him, it's really being redemptive. He would have to really stick it to Melisandre a little bit and show that he is actually making his own decisions and not just making his decisions based on what she wants or needs, so that he can have her power. where he's going to pick, the truly honorable and righteous path over using something to help him gain.
I think it redeems him. I do. I think currently he's the only one that recognizes the danger of the White Walkers. Everyone else is still squabbling, and he is too to some extent, but he's the only one that recognizes it. And if he were to take his army up there and save the whole of Westeros while everyone else is just bickering, then yeah, I think that totally redeems him. I really do.
All right, well, moving on to the next question from listener Ryan Sagers. And guys, I'm not going to be able to hit all of them because there were many, but thank you so much for commenting on the side. And both Matthew and Ryan, I'll write off a couple of other comments you guys had. But another question I really liked that Ryan asked was, do you think Jack Gleeson has hurt his career for playing a character who is so universally disliked? Obviously, he's an amazing actor for creating the persona. That's a great question, Ryan. If Jack Gleeson has already announced that he is, quote-unquote, taking a break from acting for a while. He's kind of done it since he was a little boy, and he said he's kind of lost the passion for it. He still enjoys it, but it's. I read an interview with him this week. I read an interview with Entertainment Weekly. You should look up with Jack Gleeson this week, and he basically said that I loved acting growing up. It was a lot of fun. It was something cool to do to be able to pretend to be someone else. But he says, now that's my job. It changes your relationship. It's not that it's not fun anymore, but all of a sudden it's more business. It's a lot more fun and less something I enjoy doing. So
But even if he wanted to, I don't know. I don't know if it hurts him. If he decided he wanted to act more, I can't say it hurts him.
I feel like there would be potential for him to get pigeonholed. Yeah. I feel like if he got careful, I feel like his next casting could potentially be a villain. Because he like he said, he's played Joffrey extremely well. Like, he's done a very good job with the role of Joffrey and making us all hate him. I thought he's done a really excellent job at that. I feel like there could be, if he were ever to get back, like you said, he kind of wants to get away from acting. But if he were to ever come back, I feel like there could be potential for someone to say he was so good at playing Joffrey, let's make him play someone evil.
And I agree. Say he was going to continue acting, and I think at some point
compared to if he never did the show, I guess.
Yeah, I think at some point down the road he's going to come back too. But say he didn't. Say that was an issue. I think he would have. It would depend. Honestly, it would depend a lot more on what his next role is than it was this role. If he decides to stick with the villain character, then yeah, he could very easily get pigeonholed, and you could see that he would become more of a character actor, in which, yeah, he plays one type of character. I don't think it damages his career. Like Austin said, it's getting exposure out there. We'll go ahead and grab another quick question. One from Cheryl Hugel. That is one of my friends I made at the Phoenix Film Festival last week. And she asked if we'd read the books. And to go ahead and circle back to what we mentioned earlier, I have read all 5 of the books that are published. Austin, how many have you read?
I haven't read any. I don't want to. I like enjoying the show for the show. I may go back and read them for like the extra input eventually. But as it stands, I like being surprised every week. I think that adds to the fun for myself anyway. How about you, Daniel?
For me, I watched the first 3 seasons without reading the books, and then after season 3, I started reading. Actually, I started reading book 1 about the time season 3 was starting. And I have now completed the first 3 books. I'm working on book 4 currently, and hopefully can be through those before, the end. I'm moving through before at a pretty decent pace right now, so hopefully I can be through those fairly quickly. But right now I am working on book 4.
Last thing, I'll rattle off a few comments. Thank you so much. I think we had 4 people who commented in, Matthew, Cheryl, Bethany, and Ryan. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate taking the time. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn to our Facebook. Once again, you guys can find us at www.facebook.com/castbeyondthewall. If you're listening right now, either live or via our audio podcast, go ahead and hop on there and like us, comment. We post a lot of stories on there. You can you can comment on, and we will read your responses. And we did get a response from one such listener as the famous, infamous Chris Tobin, who is the commenting master of the Cast Beyond the Wall. And he gave us a very lengthy response, so I might have to skip over a little bit of it. All great feedback. He says, without Jaime, Casterly Rock has no heir, and Tywin's bloodline will die. In which I disagree with him about Tyrion. And he claims that Tywin will never truly accept Tyrion as his true heir. He would rather burn Castle Rock to the ground before he hands it over to him, which I found fascinating. He says Jaime really hasn't accomplished anything of importance because people don't realize the circumstances he killed the Mad King. Everything else he did, he hasn't really done anything else worth of honor in the book, which is fair. Jaime has only really fought in tournaments, right?
Yeah, that's all we know of or have seen from him.
All right, well, and then the last bit of valuable information I think Mr. Tobin posted on our wall was he posted a link that kind of explains the whole Dario situation. And I remember I'd read a couple months ago, that it had something to do with scheduling. And I was like, but why would you outschedule something over Game of Thrones? It just wasn't clicking. Well, then he sent me this link, and basically we find out that the actor who played Dario originally, Ed Skrein, was also cast in the upcoming Transporter film where he'll star as a younger version of Jason Statham's character. So even though Game of Thrones gets bigger critical acclaim and may actually be seen to have more people, he decided to go take the action star route. So that would be why we lost Dario.
And apparently he's also a house DJ, much like our good friend Hodor.
All right, and last bit of feedback was from friend of the show, Dalton Stewart. He said, we, quote unquote, we need to talk about the way Caleb chooses to pronounce Cersei. I've always said Cersei. I always thought that's how it was. Did I say it differently? Maybe I did. And if you say Cersei, you're just crazy on drugs or something like that, because clearly I'm right. And then he said,
I can't even think of what they say in the show. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. You try to think, like, did I say Cersei or Cersei? And I wonder if they don't say both. I don't really know. Anyway, and he says, we need to talk about the way Caleb chooses to pronounce Cersei and his love for Littlefinger. Well, Mr. Stewart, here's what I could say about Littlefinger. He may well be one of the most evil characters on the show. He objectifies women in a way so much worse than any other character in the show. They aren't even just like sex objects. They are like
commodities.
They're commodities, yeah. I think Varys has a great little line about how Littlefinger, he tells Roz, Littlefinger looks at you and sees how much money he can get out of each hole that you possess. So yes, yes, Littlefinger is evil. He has no real friends. But he's so smart. He plays it just right. Here's why I love Littlefinger. Is because that guy is so stinking smart. He's played the game so well, so smart, so patiently. This is the guy who has risen from being an absolute nobody on the Fingers, a sub-house of House Tully, who has risen to prominence in King's Landing, has used his business model with the brothel to gain enough influence to get asked to be the Master of Coin, and he used that from the Master of Coin to negotiate with the Tyrells, in which case he now is the Lord of Harrenhal, which is worthless, but he knows he was getting Harrenhal, which makes him a lord over Harrenhal, which then means he can marry Lysa Arryn, which means he's Lord of the Vale. This guy has so smartly played the game, and I think he is by far one of the most dangerous, because nobody even.
Oh, he is absolutely the most dangerous person in Westeros. I believe.
Because the thing that makes him so dangerous is he's anonymous. Nobody's worried about him. Nobody. Varys is one of the only people who's remotely worried about him. Varys is the only guy who's like, he said that he'd watch the kingdom burn if he could be king of the ashes. This guy is infinitely dangerous, but I just have so much respect for a guy who can play it as smart and patiently as he has. And ultimately, so far, he's getting what he wants a lot more than any other character. And maybe not immediately, but he's getting there. He may very well be evil, and I don't like him because he's evil, but I do respect a man who has literally made something for himself out of nothing, and he continues to do so in a way that none of these other characters are. While they're all squabbling over really insignificant things, he is rising to power and getting what he really wants in the safest way possible, even if it's taking him a long time.
You think Tywin gave him Harrenhal to get him away because he recognizes how dangerous he is?
I don't think Tywin has any clue.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to his return.
I mean, Tywin's like, hey, go to the Vale. We want them in the fold. And Littlefinger, that's what Littlefinger wants him to do, though, right? He wants that to happen. But he puts himself in a position where that would happen. So he becomes buddy-buddy with Tywin. He wins Harrenhal over.
And that's what I'm saying about Tywin probably doesn't, he convinces Tywin that was his idea, when in all reality that's exactly what he wanted to happen. He wanted Tywin to tell him to do that, He inceptions them. That's what he does.
Yeah, he really does.
He lets them think that it's their idea, and then gets what he wants. But it was their idea, so it can't come back on him.
So Dalton Stewart, hope you answered that question. FYI, guys, I'm going to do a little plug here for my good friend Dalton. I guest hosted on the one of his podcasts, a couple other guys, the Good Trash Genre Cast, where they review a lot of old movies. It's a great group of guys if you want to look at some an analytical look at movies. And Dalton is actually going to be a co-host on our show later this season, so very excited to have him on. If anyone else has any other feedback they want to send through the Twitterverse, go ahead and follow us at cast_beyond_wall. Well, that's all the feedback I've got. I want to remind everyone that we love the questions and the comments, and we will make sure to read them on the air. And lastly, I do want to say you can subscribe to us on YouTube, The Cast Beyond the Wall, and we will have all of our episodes posted there as well as on We Got This Covered. And lastly, as we highlighted at the beginning of this episode, we are now going to be sharing our podcast through a great website called We Got This Covered. They are very up to date on all the movie, gaming, and TV news. And hopefully at some point we can even have one of the writers from We Got This Covered on our show. We're very excited about the partnership with them, and you need to go check this out at wegotThisCovered.com. And we just want to say thank you so much for hosting us and on our podcast. We're very excited about our partnership. All right, guys. Well, we're about to wrap up, but before we do, let's go ahead and prehash next week's episode, Breaker of Chains.
Take him! You did this!
Whoever killed the king wanted me to lose my head for it.
Your circumstances have improved markedly. But I would have been the queen.
Man says all he needs to crush us, he just doesn't know it yet.
Who's going to protect you at Castle Black? I've never heard of visions and prophecies winning a war. I'm running out of time.
I have something to say to the people of Marine.
So, in next week's episode, we read, in the frenzied aftermath of the royal wedding, Tyrion gets a visit from a loyal subject, but wonders if anyone in his family will help him out of his current predicament. Meanwhile, Tywin offers to work for the common good with a presumed enemy. Sam takes stock of the personnel at Castle Black. The Hound gives another life lesson to Arya, and Daenerys makes a decision out of the sides of the walls.
Yeah, the way that is worded with the Hound gives another life lesson to Arya. That sounds very interesting.
I don't know if I want to be part of any lesson the Hound is teaching her, because it's not good.
They're all great lessons. Don't name your sword.
Here's how you kill an enemy in your sleep. Here's how you kill an enemy when they're standing. Here's how you kill an enemy who's on the crapper.
I love the Hound. I used to hate him.
Yeah, I love him.
Now he's just like one of the very, very best characters in the show. It's great. I love it.
Yeah. Well, guys, what do you think we're going to see next week?
I think we're going to see Sam Tarly be really lame again. As always, every time he's on the screen.
You really hate Sam, don't you?
Oh, I can't wait till he dies. The Thins are going to eat him. They're going to love it.
I think we'll see how this whole Tyrion being accused thing will definitely come into play. We'll get to see sort of how people are going to react if people believe that Tyrion did it or if people don't believe that Tyrion did it, and what happens to him because of that, because of Cersei's claim. And I think that'll be really fun to see.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm very excited to see how what happens with the Tyrion storyline, see that unfold, and see who is his loyal subject. I'm guessing that's probably Bran, but who knows? Very excited to see that. And we'll see if Daenerys' storyline actually goes somewhere for once. I would love to see that happen. I don't know about you guys. It's kind of so far. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this week on the Cast Beyond the Wall. Join us next week when we review Breaker of Chains. And until next time.
Whether it's been 18 years since you read Game of Thrones, or just 3 seasons he's been chilling your bones, only one character deserves your undivided hate, and now at long last he has met his fate. His wedding began and then his life stopped abrupt, for someone had the courage to put something in his cup. He dropped to the floor and clutched at his throat. It's the best damn death that Martin ever wrote.
So everyone raise a glass. Now this is a wedding we can celebrate. We're rid of that pain in the ass. There's no worse person that I love to hate. No longer to wear the crown. Give us Daenerys or Stannis instead. The world will sing out loud. At long last, King Joffrey is dead. His bullshit started early, dooming Micah and Lady. Even King Robert knew truly that little Joffrey was shady. He could have given mercy instead of killing off Ned.
That was Cheers to Joffrey by Area of Defects. We'll post the full link so you guys can check that out, but that was just a few of our fellow listeners cheering the death of Joffrey.
You don't get the whole
really
nice. Yeah, it's not like the Walter White death, you know. Where you kind of see, like,
Spoiler alert: Austin Stull's gonna watch that show one day.
It's okay. I knew he. It's okay. It's okay. It's my fault.
It's been like a year. I can't help it.
Exactly. He's
it's fair game. It's been like at least 6 months.
No, it's totally fine.
Spoiler alert. Okay.